to tell. I know it. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are up to segment number 3 and my absolute favorite segment here on the RUS GUTIN Experience. Every week during the pandemic, of which this show was born out of, I love to check in with my comic friends who have somehow or other ended up quarantined with their parents or families. And this week is no exception. On my favorite segment we call Say Hi to Your Mom For Me. Oh, graphics, bada bing, bada boom, bada bing. It should look like the sign of the bada bing. Say hi to your mom for me. And this week we have one of our most amazing guests for this segment yet. I have known this guy, like we said before the show, I think since the year 2000. He has been a writer for shows like SNL, characters like Triumph the Insult Comic Dog, and he is the amazing co-writer of this summer's #1 comedy and available anywhere video on demand, The King of Staten Island. Please welcome my friend, Mr. Dave SIRUS on Say Hi to Your Mom For Me.
Well, this is awkward.
Yes, yes.
I
Gallery
am
has had
not.
upwards of 10 people sometimes. So
I am not at my mom's house. I don't know where the miscommunication came.
I don't know. Did we miscommunicate?
Did I say I was at my mom's? Because
in Sun Post, and then I got the vibe, and then I asked you, so I felt like, yeah, this is.
Did you?
I asked the right question.
I might not have read the entire question.
We can always play it as a fictional character. Who has been quarantined with their parents.
I live in my great grandmother's apartment that she died in. You know, because it's so cheap. I do live in the same building as my grandmother.
Okay.
That's where I lived.
Maybe
that's where I've lived.
I got it from when you took your grandmother to the doctor the other week and you duct taped her car with a saran wrap divider.
Yes, I put a shower curtain between the front and back seat of my car so I could safely bring my grandmother to the doctor.
Oh my God. So did I totally misread this? And that's why I kept saying, can I talk to you directly? Because I want to make sure I didn't get the question wrong. But I said to the questionnaire, should we skip the questionnaire and go to the bonus question, or should we do it?
I mean, you can ask me whatever question you want. They may not be, moot.
Well, if you weren't quarantined with your parents, then I will just ask you, I think, the bonus questions about Dave SIRUS.
Sure.
All right, so give it up. Fuck Say Hi to Your Mom For Me. And for editing purposes, ladies and gentlemen, tonight on Rustle Around the Interwebs, that's what we're going to call this segment, which we call the other segment, we are joined by a friend of mine since the year 2000. I'm going to redo it, Dave. The amazing writer for SNL, Triumph the Insult Comic Dog, and co-writer of the hit comedy of the summer, King of Staten Island, available now on video on demand, Mr. Dave SIRUS. All right.
I hope you didn't cut anything.
No, they'll cut it up later. We'll fix it in post. Now, Dave, I am so excited that you let me chase you down and ask you to be here tonight because I wanted to ask you a few things. You know I'm a huge fan of yours, and I've known you a long time.
Long time.
We're also joining in on our roast battle conversation. I was totally trying to get Nico and everybody to tell some of those great Dave stories from roast battle. Okay, so Dave, first question is, my wife and I absolutely love The King of Staten Island. We thought it was authentic and heartfelt and totally hilarious. And just besides Pete, the main focus of the movie, there were so many amazing comics in it, like Ricky Velez, Derek Gaines, Jessica Kirson, Carly Aquilino. So we just absolutely loved it. So I have a two-part question for you about the movie, which is, one, what is the thing you are most surprised made it into the final cut that you got away with? And the sub question is to that, what is your favorite thing that got cut out in the end?
In terms of things getting in, there were a lot of very loose improvisations, specifically between Pete and Belle, his girlfriend. That there were there were a lot of moments that were we have a lot of scripted stuff, but there's a lot of moments where they wanted to just kind of get into a completely real conversation. So there's a lot of parts of that where Belle is just, I think, the best actor in that movie. I think Belle
She's
really,
British too, right?
yeah, she's very British. Her
And she
accent
was so
was insane.
amazing. Yeah,
She did a better, yeah, she did a better accent than any of the Americans that tried out for that part. It was really like shocking. And
No.
so I thought that like there was a lot of stuff that like was very loose and real that was kept in, that kept that, that's why we have such like a real kind of thought to it. That's why it came off as so natural for that reason.
We felt
because
connected to their relationship. It was complicated, and there was a lot going on underneath. And me and my wife absolutely loved that part of the movie.
yeah, and something that I wish had made it in. I mean, there's so many jokes
Yeah.
that I would have. One thing that I really wish had made it in was when Action Bronson, after he gets into the hospital, there's supposed to be a scene that I guess the momentum would have been ruined, but after Pete and Bill and Marissa hug, we're supposed to see Action Bronson covered in gauze, still attached to an IV, and bleeding heavily through the gauze, going, "Thanks everybody, that was great. You guys, I'm gonna call a lift, but you guys did a bang up job. There's a terrible flu going around, so try to." While a nurse chases him, being like, "Get him back in the in the ground, sir. You are not clear to leave."
Oh my God, he fucking crushed
I really wanted that scene to. I felt like we needed to know he was okay, and that he was just sort of being like, you know what, I'm fine. I think we're good. I'm just gonna get out of here.
No. Because you left with it feeling so proud of Pete that he like answered the call and did what he was supposed to do watching the front of the station, and it led to this great reconciling moment. But I would have loved that. And Action Bronson just crushed it, especially when he's like, "Yo, I can't go to the police." When he was just brilliant. I just loved it. I can't believe you got such a great performance out of him. Now,
I was also very happy. A line that I desperately I needed it to stay in, and it did. Was where it's a reference to Kingsman, where he says, "Is there like a foam or something that can fix this?"
Yeah, no, and I love Kingsman. That's so funny that
That's
you
a
bring
reference
that
to
up.
that. Yeah, that's why I added that. The foam line was specific to Kingsman. Like he thinks there's like a foam that'll fix.
And did they say that was like too inside? But like nerds like me would have loved it because I'm obsessed with the comic and I'm obsessed with the movies.
It made it in, but it was one of those things where I had to repeatedly remind them, like, make sure that part,
Wow.
the word foam stays in, and it probably was lifted from another line because you don't see him say it, you just hear it.
Is it? Oh, okay. It's off camera because I've seen it
Yeah, I think
twice,
so.
but I do need to watch it one more time.
I think I think it's off camera. You don't see him say it because I was just like, you have to have the foam line.
Oh, that is fucking incredible stuff. And Dave, I do have other questions in that department that maybe I get to ask you later, like having a scene with Robert Smigel and Jessica Kirson in the same scene. That scene is great, but I'm just curious, like, how much longer that scene could have been with the two of them.
Oh, I mean, we had so much, but we had to cut it all because we had to cut a lot because that scene really needed to feel serious. And like,
it had,
you have too much back and forth with them. It just feels like a sitcom. And it was like,
it felt dangerous, and you felt upset that these characters you've come to like, despite their flaws, made a bad choice and then made bad choices all throughout that bad choice. So it did feel like a real situation where things had gone from really, really bad to much, much worse. But I forget the line he says, but when he has the gun, like, this is blah, 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 blah.
He says, okay, the original line that I wrote was, as he starts shooting, he yells, "My name is Alan Moskowitz, and today I say no more." And it ended up being, "Not this time. This is Alan Moskowitz's time."
Yeah.
And the name Alan Moskowitz was very important to me. It just felt like one of those really funny Jewish names.
Mwah. Yeah, like
I went to high
Chef's
school with
kiss.
someone
Mwah.
named Moskowitz, and it just felt right.
I loved it. It was just the best. And my wife and I, like I said, were like, "Oh my God, that scene must be 15 minutes in reality." Okay.
Yeah, it really, there was so much bickering we had to cut.
Oh, that is, like I said, Dave, I could do an entire show asking about the movie. All right. So this is the last question and bonus question that I had for you, Dave, and you're very, very gracious to let me ask it. One of me and my wife's favorite things, not only in comedy, but in life, is none other than Triumph, the insult comic dog. I even have his album, Come Poop With Me, the double deluxe edition. I used to listen to on long road trips. So I just absolutely love Triumph. I'm sorry. I actually had another question after this. Okay, so my question for you about Triumph is two questions. One, which is what's the origin story? How did you get to write for such an iconic character? And two, what is the meanest thing you ever got the privilege to get Triumph to say to somebody?
Well, I after I finished SNL, I was on tour with Pete and Ricky. We did a bus tour, and Triumph's Hulu special was the first thing I was ever given the chance to just write a packet for. So for SNL, SNL was interested in me already because I was Pete's co-writer before he was on SNL,
Okay.
and they were interested in me because of the Justin Bieber roast. They were very happy that I made
Oh,
him look
okay.
good with the jokes I wrote, because I wrote half the jokes in that.
Love that
So
roast.
so that was a situation where I was coming in as Pete's co-writer. It made a lot of sense. With Triumph, though, I was just a guy blindly sending in a packet, which he doesn't hire a lot of those guys. So I
Yeah.
got hired just from a packet of jokes. One of those jokes ended up being not used, but was in the Rob Lowe roast.
Oh.
One of the jokes in my Triumph packet was, Ann Coulter, if you're here, who's scaring the crows away from our crops?
Yes. Oh my God.
So
What an
I just
opportunity.
wrote a packet and I started working on the Hulu show. And first we're just sitting in this room with like a lot of people I really respect in comedy, like Robert and David Feldman and stuff.
Oh.
And I was
Wow.
the first time that we actually filmed something that I was working on. We filmed this thing that never got used. We got a bunch of like pundits, reporters types, and we were going to have them. We were going to train them to deal with protesters and deal with the like riots or whatever that
Oh.
might happen outside the conventions. So there was just a lot. So basically, it was like putting these reporters, these like, and it was like people who are like really respected, like Crystal Ball, and like a lot of people that I knew.
Jesus.
And one of them was my agent's husband.
Oh
Very
no.
nice man, John Podhoretz. Very funny guy. He's a pundit. He's an anti-Trump Republican,
Yeah.
so a hero. And he knew. He said hi. He was like, "Oh, I'm Ayala's husband." When he came in, it was like, "Oh, very very nice guy," and I love Ayala too. And the first time I ever got to see Triumph say a joke of mine, it was him saying to John, who, very happy I got to see someone I know at the job. It was him saying to John a joke that I actually wrote for a different guy that wasn't there, that was probably more appropriate for they're both bald, but the
Right.
other guy was a little I'm trying to remember what his name was, but Jonathan something ad. Anyway, the joke that he repurposed for John was, what powers did you get when you were bitten by that radioactive hard-boiled egg?
Oh
And
shit.
John said, the power to not have that hurt my feelings.
Oh God damn it.
And
Oh.
then John agreed to put on a full black vinyl gimp outfit with the mask too, and it was one of those masks that has like eye holes and then a triangle for the mouth.
Oh.
So it's like a
Yes.
triangle,
Gross.
triangle, triangle. And I called him the Jiggle Knot, which I was very proud of because it made one of the other reporters laugh. So that means it was good.
Yeah, that's right. Reporters are fucking. They are walls, walls, my
And
friend.
and there have definitely been jokes that you had to wonder were just over the line that of course he wouldn't use, but I'm just trying to think of everything. Like, for example, I knew this. Okay, so here's a joke that Robert liked, but we knew we couldn't do it. And then I pitched it instead, then because I was pitching it for one of Pete's update features about Republicans.
Oh, okay.
And they also wouldn't do this. And that's happened before, where there was a joke that Smigel wanted to do, and then Colbert said no, and then Pete wanted to do, and Lauren said no. I'll tell you those two jokes. The first one was that Ted Cruz looks like a vampire accidentally bit Charlie Sheen. And the other one was...
What's wrong with that? Why would that... Okay, go ahead.
Steve King... people say Steve King is racist, but he's actually reverse racist because when he sees black people, he backs his car into them.
And he has a backup camera. You know what I mean? White privilege. So this is... Oh my God, Dave, that is great. Now, Dave, I skipped one more question, but you actually kind of led into it, so it was actually a better order. So as usual, you're rewriting everybody's work because you're smarter than everybody, as I've always said. So you, and again, and I really mean this, Dave, and I appreciate the opportunity to say this. I have always looked up to and respected you and thought that is a real writer. Like, I sort of write for my energy and my voice, but you are just a great joke writer, and it's something that I admire and look up to. And you have actually written for a little show, like you said, called SNL. Don't know if you guys have heard of it. So as our last question tonight, I would just love to know, what was your favorite sketch you ever got to work on there, and why?
Well, the thing about SNL was they hated my sketches.
I knew you'd be brutally honest.
I did get to write a lot of jokes for the cold opens, and I was very proud of a lot of the update features that I wrote. I think the best thing I wrote that year was this was the first update of Pete's that was mostly mine. That was pretty much my own update, and that was about transgender bathroom use.
Yeah.
So that was one that I wrote. But I also was really happy that I got to write a lot of jokes that were in the updates, like the cold opens, such as when Larry David as Bernie Sanders says, "People are worried I won't get enough of the black vote, but I'll have you know that as Senator of Vermont, I got 50% of the black vote. His name is Marcus."
I can't believe you put a joke in Larry David's mouth. That is, I mean, I don't mean you didn't put it in his mouth, Dave. I understand. but yes, but I can't believe you wrote a line and Larry David said it. That is... Yeah,
and I had a joke that I wanted him to do that he liked a lot.
Oh,
but no one else. It was too Jewish for everyone else. But Larry really laughed at this.
Yeah, no, I'm your demo. Give it to me.
There was a line that someone else had written where he says, "I want you to go to your closet, take the vacuum cleaner, empty it out, and send me the pennies." That was someone else's joke. And then I added, and this was I was very proud. I got a big laugh out of Larry for this, where I said, "You can keep the nickels. I'm not a chassa." And I just thought, it's like, the more Yiddish you give Bernie Sanders, the funnier it's going to be.
Yeah. And Yiddish is funny in and of itself. It's like Spanglish. I don't need to know what you're saying. I just know that it's funny, you know?
Yeah, just saying chassa is funny.
Oh my God.
Like I wrote, one of the things I wrote was, I got one joke in this where Hillary from today meets Hillary from 8 years earlier. And I was like, the Hillary from 8 years earlier, she just grabbed the new Hillary's phone and break it. Dumb joke, so
she
dumb.
Threw it on the ground.
But I was just like, this is gonna, be crowd pleasing. Like, they really hated my writing. The one thing they liked that I did was I wrote more promos.
This version of it.
I wrote more promos than anyone. Like, I wrote like a third of all the, "Hey, I'm Jonah Hill hosting SNL," and you have like 5 seconds to write a bad joke.
Yeah,
so
but I click on all of those. I'm that dude. So
I wrote a lot of those just because no one else tried, and because it seemed like the less time you had, the more I got on.
Okay. Well, I never knew.
It was a 10-scene bit that we could actually like wing. And but yeah, there was a joke that I don't remember if it got on the air or not. I remember it was in dress rehearsal, but it was Ted Cruz saying about Donald Trump when he says something racist. He goes, "Now that is not okay. The Republican Party does not say racist things. We imply them over decades of policy."
Yes, that's right.
I don't remember if that actually got on the show or not. I honestly don't.
I don't know, but you're right. That's right. We apply dog whistles that are not even supposed to be heard by normal people, but we have heard it for a long time, and literally everything we have ever said might happen has actually come true. God bless our Jew hearts. Now, Dave, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. If you haven't already, go ahead and please buy or rent what I think will be nominated for Best Original Screenplay, co-written by Dave SIRUS, the amazing King of Staten Island, which I think is a Robert Altman level character piece. Please go enjoy it, and thank you, Dave, for joining us tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Russ. And I
Give
just
it up
want to
for
say,
Dave SIRUS.
it's so great to see you still doing comedy. Of course, we met like 20 years ago when you were doing what I would describe as the World War I of comedy.
Thank you so much.
No one, and I mean that because of all the comedians I've ever seen, no one has ever done never, what's the line? Never have so many done so much for so little.
That's right.
Because you, for crowds of like 25 people, you put in what seemed to be years of audiovisual work so that you could have a conversation with 5 other versions of yourself on these. And this is before flat screens.
That's right. Yeah, no, we had to carry
Tube
them in.
televisions that you would stack, and you would have this. I mean, it must have been practiced for months.
At least 2, yeah, at least 2. And my dad worked at Radio Shack, which is really the thing that made it possible. If my dad didn't work at Radio Shack at the Cherry Hill Mall, I wouldn't have been able to have done those things where I played like Sergeant Session, and I played all these other characters and did the 12 steps of how to get stoned and go to the movies. At Kenny's Castaway, which you remember, we've done a bunch of shows there, where the sound guy would be on so much heroin that he would be passed out in the alley, and I would also have to run the soundboard too. So we have done some amazing gigs together, my friend.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave. And you always say that, and I appreciate it, because that was right before I met my wife and actually was taken care of and became a human being. So I appreciate it, and big shout out to my wife, and big shout out to you, Dave, for joining us tonight. Thank you. I appreciate it. I chased you for a while. Thank you.